All right. It is 6 p.m. here Central Time, and it's 7 in the central area there. It's Arknolia and the Doctor. We're here. We're back after a long while. And it's been a while because of my work schedule and everything else, you know. And I was wondering, this coming Thursday, would it be okay if you would I had this idea, possibly this Thursday, possibly doing our show at 6 Eastern Time, and then just instead of stopping the stream, just carry the stream through my stint with the Real Says Fuck TV.
Yeah, we could do that. I'll probably stop my end, but
Right. But we also like to have you join in on the way on whatever subjects that come up there.
oh yeah, I could.
It sounds like a good idea. We like to hear your opinion on a couple of things on whatever topic. As long as it's not about the stimulus checks, because I'm getting a little bit tired of hearing that almost all the time for those guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we're either going to get him or we won't.
I know. No, I'm still well. I mean, I don't want to go through all the details about the same old this, same old when we're going to get it, when we're going to get it. It's everything. I was always supposed to get it, but still, it would be preferred if we get it through the mail, like we did in the past before.
Yeah, and actually, my last two I got direct deposit.
Oh yeah, that's how they're doing it nowadays. Whether it's unemployment or debit cards or everything else there.
Yeah,
But I'm not going to complain about it. It's what it is, and we just got What up, Casey is Raw is in the chat. Feel free to join in the call if you wish to, dude. Definitely, we'd love
yeah.
to hear from you.
Basically, we're probably getting into groups and stuff that you might know something about.
Yeah. And so what I said before we went on the air, it's going to be bands that started towards the last couple of years of the 1960s and carried all the way through and are still going through to this day.
Some of them.
Yeah, some of them, I already mentioned two of the favorites that I know, but we're supposed to save that for another program, I guess.
Yeah, when we get into specific genres,
Yeah.
we'll get to those guys.
I am. Yeah, these two bands. I think we know which bands we're talking about. They both started in around 69, 1970, and made a huge impact in rock and roll. That's for sure, then.
Right.
Yeah, especially in the heavy metal area there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What's
Well, let's
so?
see.
Oh, go ahead, dude.
No, I was gonna. One of the bands that I actually forgot they started in the '60s. They started in '67 or '68, I believe. Was Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Yeah, John Fogerty, Tom Fogerty, Doug Clifford, and what's the bass player's name? I forgot his name.
Oh, I don't remember.
Let me look it up.
And to be honest, a lot of times I don't remember individuals in a group anyway.
Okay. Well.
Which is kind of weird, but unless they really stand up
All right.
or out.
All right.
But a lot of these people I have got lists.
All right.
For Creedence, my number 10. Let me try English.
All right.
My number 10 song.
Stu Cook was the bass player there. There we go.
My number 10 by them was Have You Ever Seen the Rain?
Oh, yeah. Great song there.
Good song.
Yeah.
And my number 9 is Rude Awakening part number 1. Excuse me.
All right.
Rude Awakening number 1.
All right.
Kind of a semi-psychedelic thing, but it's pretty good.
All right.
My number 8 for them was the one that started it off for them, Susie Q.
Oh, yeah.
The 8-minute version.
Yes, there's an 8-minute version that's out there on one of their albums there, which was pretty damn good. And we also cannot forget their, and we also can't forget their long. I don't know if this version is 8 minutes long as well. It's their cover of Marvin Gaye's "Heard It Through the Grapevine."
That is around 11 minutes.
Oh wow, dang!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 7, I got Pagan Baby. Great little song.
Uh-huh.
Number 6 is Sailor's Lament.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I kind of go for the unusual ones because I'm trying to, I guess, spur people on to try something a little different.
Yeah, because we get so many. Because when you think of Creedence, you think of the same old Proud Mary or the Have You Ever Seen the Rain or Coming Down, and all the same songs
Oh,
that we
Have You Ever
know.
Seen the Rain's going to show up on my list.
I know. Yeah, absolutely.
And let's see, number 5. Ah, let me get my little helper here.
All right.
Hideaway.
Uh-huh.
It's a great little song off of, I forget the name of the album, but it's the
All
one
right.
Pagan Baby on it.
All right.
My number 4 is Who'll Stop the Rain.
Oh yeah, good song there.
That's one of my favorite rain songs by them.
All right.
Number 3 is Effigy. Number 2 is Sinister Purpose. And my number 1, the song I like most by them, and I just love to listen to it, is Ramble Tamble.
Mm.
Yeah, it's about 8 minutes long, and it's one of those songs that it really rocks,
Mm-hmm.
gets rocking real good, and then it goes into those it goes into a break that's, well, similar to some of the other songs of this, like Oh Well by Fleetwood Mac, things like that. It's just kind
Uh-huh.
of a floating little lead, or floating little guitar thing.
All right.
And to be honest, I think you'd love it.
All right.
Another band that started,
And you know what's
I
kind of funny,
think,
when you I need to interrupt there because when you really
no, go
look
ahead.
at all of this, the shit that went on with CCR towards the breakup there, and all the issues that John Fogerty had with his former record label, Fantasy Records, and the owner there, it's kind of like I guess he described the issues he had with that label and its executive as a 10-year nightmare. There was a lot of lawsuits, there was a lot of issues about over
Yeah, they
copyrights
were
and
actually
stuff.
suing him
Hmm.
for sounding like himself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The song "The Old Man Down the Road" from 1985. You know, they kind of like it sounded similar to a song called "Run to the Jungle" that CCR did. Now, the copyright of all those CCR songs was owned by Fantasy Records. So when he heard about this, he decided to take him to court. It's like, it's like this is probably a first because you're getting sued for plagiarizing yourself for crying out loud.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I know, but then again, the runner, the guy who ran the Fantasy Records was like one of those hard-headed, dickwad type of dudes there, and like, for instance, and here's the, I need to bring this up between John Fogerty and his brother Tom, who died in 1980. Now, no, excuse me, he died in 1990. I guess what it was,
Yeah,
it was a issue with his health. I guess it was AIDS complication. I guess he got it from a tainted blood transfusion he received while undergoing back surgery. You know, now Tom and John reconciled before Tom's death, but in the eulogy he delivered at Tom's funeral, John said, "We wanted to grow up to be musicians, and we achieved half of that becoming rock and roll stars. We didn't necessarily grow up." Now, Stu Cook and Doug Clifford, they often carry on as Creedence Clearwater Revisited.
right.
Yes, and they performing all the songs that John Fogerty wrote, as we all can tell, because Fogerty was the main songwriter, except for that one record they did called Mardi Gras, which I can understand was extremely bad.
Yeah, there was one or two good songs on it. That was about the size of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Excuse
Fogerty
me.
will later, of course, go on to have a successful solo career, a center
And he was
field.
actually forbidden from playing a lot of his own songs
Yeah,
by Fantasy Records.
yeah, exactly. Until
And
he broke
they
that rule.
finally,
Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
Now, well, I
I was
know
going to
he,
say they finally let him do it when he played
a vi-
halftime show at a Super Bowl,
yeah.
and he played a lot of the old songs on that.
Ah.
So I guess they finally let him do it.
Yeah, and I guess Fantasy Records has a new manager or owner now, and I guess they decided to do things different than what the previous guy did. And I guess
Right.
Fogarty's now with Fantasy wants a record, and I guess they're going to start, going to start letting have his, going to have his some of the royalty, I guess some of the copyrights of his royalties. I got to look it up here. Now, here's the
Well,
thing.
yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the guy whose name escapes me at the moment, he was a total prick, for what I understand. There was a lot of
Yeah.
there was a lot of compilations. There was a lot of releases that came out there. You know, it's just Fantasy built a new headquarters building in 1971 in Burgundy, California, and he also used the wealth which was came from the success of those CCR records to produce a number of successful films, including One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Amadeus, and The English Patient. And he sold the guy sold Fantasy Records to Concord Records, and as a goodwill gesture, Concord honored the unfulfilled contractual promises Fantasy made nearly 40 years earlier, finally paying CCR a higher royalty rate on their sales and restoring John's ownership of his songs back to him, which is good. And after seeing
Yeah.
that this guy Zantz, that's his last name, was no longer involved with the company, John decided to sign a new deal with Concord Fantasy. He released an album called The Long Road Home, a collection of CCR hits, and solo hits just as well, including stuff from Centerfield, I Had a Zombie, which by the way had this real crazy ass cover on there if you ever saw it there.
Well, actually, he had at least solo. He had at least three pretty decent songs. I thought.
Yeah,
I liked Centerfield
yep,
and The Old Man Down the Road.
yeah.
Then he did another one called Rock and Roll Girls that was pretty
Yeah, I
good.
remember that. I liked that I Had a Zombie, and he had the song on that record entitled Soda Pop, which kind of like a detailed the how rock stars and musicians were selling the rights of their music to these Coca-Cola, Pepsi commercials and
Right.
stuff. We spoke about this before. I mean, Don Johnson and Glenn Fry from the Eagles appearing in a Pepsi commercial when at the height of Miami Vice's fame there.
Yeah, I understand. I like the artists that refuse to have any part of that because
Yeah, like Neil
well,
Young.
Neil Young's a big one.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah,
remember he
Neil
wrote.
Young's a big one.
Yeah, he wrote that the album "This Notes for You" took was a definitely a stab at that thing right there,
Yeah,
including the video where it has him hopes up a beer can saying sponsored by nobody.
yeah. It's just a cheap way to get a little. I don't know.
Oh, and I also want to throw this little mention. CCR was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Fogerty said he would not perform with either Clifford or Cook. And what it was is that, they decided, I guess John Fogerty had a resentment towards those two because they left him in that nightmarish contract with the old Fantasy Records. And I guess what the story was when they were finally got their trophies and their induction there. Fogerty decided to hit the stage by himself with Springsteen, Mellencamp, all the other guys, Bonnie Raitt, and all those other artists that were influenced by them. And
yeah.
Clifford and Cook were like insulted, so they got up and took the words and left, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, I kind of understand his thoughts on that because
yeah,
it was
that's
like
understand.
Clifford and Cook decided, hey, I know we're not Credence, but we're Credence.
Yeah,
Touring as the other one
yeah, I know. And in fact,
was kind of like a slap in the face.
it was Trish Fogerty, who was Tom Fogerty's widow, she expected the group to get back together. She even brought the urn containing Tom's ashes to the ceremony.
Wow.
Wow, absolutely. So you can imagine she was pretty bummed out. So Clifford and Cook, who were seated with their families across the table from Fogerty's, walked out of the ballroom, as the performance began. They would later write separate letters to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's board of directors, saying that the whole thing was hurtful and insult to allow the performance to continue without them.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
back to
you gotta.
and then one more thing before we carry on. In
Sure.
2011, Fogerty admitted that he would at least be willing to consider reuniting with Cook and Clifford. You know,
Yeah, and I'm sure they would do it with him.
yeah, right. Do I show it? I guess so.
Yeah, you got somebody in your chat.
I know. I got a couple of them. Casey, Six is in the chat here. What up, Six? Let us know in the comments there what you like to do episodes on in the near future. Any ideas, anything you want to contribute there? Let us know in the chat, dude. And
Okay, the next band that got started in the late '60s, and we're actually at Woodstock.
all right.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and Young.
Yeah, because and there's two versions of that because a lot of times Young was not involved in it many times.
Yeah, but they still wanted him to be a part of that. He's just a solo guy. He likes to do his own thing.
He's his
But
own individual.
yeah, and he liked Stephen Stills and loved playing with him.
Yeah, that's true.
So basically, he said every once in a while, he just gets with him because musically they're similar.
Absolutely, that's
They're not
true. There.
exactly the same.
Remember, let's not forget they were in Buffalo Springfield together. So to Neil Young, Stephen Stills is like an old high school buddy to him.
Yeah, and they even did one album with the two of them called Stills Young Band, which was
All
pretty
right,
decent.
all right.
Uh, my number 10 by them is Deja Vu.
All right. That's the one
My
with.
number 9 is,
Go ahead.
no, you had a point for that song.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was going to. Well, not really that song. I was talking about the album there. I guess one of their
Oh, yeah.
one of their drummers, Dallas Taylor, who played on that album. I guess he was having a lot of liver issues or kidney issues. I understand, and I guess a couple of members. I'm not too sure if I remember, but I guess CSNN did a benefit show to pay for the hospital expenses. From what I understand. If I'm wrong,
Yeah.
correct me.
No, that sounds like something they would have done.
Yeah. Yeah, they were very, very given people there. A lot of musicians at that time were very given people there.
Yeah. My number 9 is a song called Run from Tears. My number 8 is Dark Star. These are like later. Number 7 is Shadow Captain. Number 6 is probably their biggest song, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes,
Oh yeah.
about Judy Collins.
Oh yeah. But here's the thing: were there actual drums on that song? Because no matter how many times, no matter times you try to listen to it, you can't. You hear a little bit here and there, but you don't know if it's there. If there's an actual drummer playing on there or what.
Now that you mention it, I don't recall a drummer on that song.
I don't think. I guess it may have been even one of the guys, making some sort of a sound to resemble either a hand clap or a snare drum or something like that. Most likely so.
Yeah. And from what I understand, that the guitar is tuned in open E
Mm-hmm.
and played, or it's
I know
an
what
unusual tuning.
I know what you're talking about. One of the guitar players from the band Sweet Teas, an old Detroit local group, tuned his guitars to that exact way, so he could do a slide guitar on it, like one of those pedal steel guitars there. And
Yeah.
he did that for a song called, I forgot the title of it, but it was a damn pretty good song there. Very good song.
But yeah, I was I was told once by someone that I believe it's either an open E or all the strings are turned to E but one. But
Yeah,
it's a very unusual tuning.
yeah. But it's supposed to sound like the E chord there, but without putting your fingers on the fret, because the tuning pegs are attuned to sound like it.
Yeah,
Yep.
somehow it's just the way they want to play that song.
Yeah. Which is kind of a lot of
Number
ways
five,
unique.
yeah, it is. My number five song is a Neil Young album, number on Deja Vu, Country Girl.
Mm.
And number four gets Carry On. Number three is Long Time Gone. Number two, Wooden Ships. And my number one, I really, really like Southern Cross.
Oh yeah, that came out in 1982, by the way.
Yeah, it came out way later than the
Yeah,
60s, but
I remember I remember that the video for that track being played on the old MTV around that time. And I guess when you go to a nearby Kroger's, when I was going, when I was working at the Kroger in Richmond, Michigan, the speaker there would often play that song a lot of times there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next group I got actually only released one album in the 60s
Hmm.
in 1969, but that's, I guess, where they got their start. And it's a group on that album that was Chicago Transit Authority,
Oh
later
my
became
goodness.
Chicago.
Oh my goodness. So that now, I think that album, Rhino Records, finally reissued that album. I guess remastered, I believe it was. It had this excellent cover of Spencer Davis's "I'm a Man," which, by the way,
Oh, yeah. That,
which by the way also has whereas Pierre Cetera and Terry Kath share the vocals on that song.
yeah, that album, in my estimation, is their best one.
Hmm. And
I
that's the one.
rated 15.
And that's the
I
one
rated
with
15, but I stayed with the Carrie Kathy years, and we'll do their later stuff when we get into the 70s and 80s.
all right.
But to me, Terry Kath was a large part of Chicago,
I know
and
the
when
old
he
Chicago.
died,
Yeah.
I mean,
Self-inflicted.
Chicago just completely changed.
Yeah, I know. Self-inflicted shotgun wound, for what I understand it was, and that was back
Yeah,
in 1978.
he was playing, I guess, uh, Russian roulette, and the gun went,
Oh,
or he was cleaning his
oh,
gun or something, and it went off accidentally.
oh,
From what I
wow,
don't know the whole
dude,
story.
dude, man, got to be careful when you clean those things there, man.
Well, and a lot of people say that he was probably one of the finest guitarists around. In fact, I think Hendrix made a mention about him being one of the best guitarists he knew.
Wow, actually, wow, that's interesting. There to get a compliment from the mighty Hendrix, that's
Yeah,
yeah,
but a lot of people say that guy was the driving force.
he was. He was. I mean, like when you think about it, he had a lot of R&B into a lot of soul into the stuff he wrote during that period of time. Like, does anybody know what time it is? And a couple others
Yeah.
there. I remember there was this one song by the old Chicago, the '70s Chicago, called "Wishing You Were Here." If I remember, that was the title of that track. There, it started with ocean waves and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm.
I did 15 by them. It was tough
Right.
to nail it down to 10.
Now, does this include the '80s Chicago, where they changed their sound, where they started being produced by David Foster, and with Cetera on the vocals there?
No, I'm going to do that part later because to me
Okay,
that's almost two different bands.
it is. It is.
But my number, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
my number 15 is Low Down.
Wow.
And my number 14 is an unusual song on the first album called South California Purples.
Mm.
That one's a very good example of Kath.
All right.
Number 13 is Prelude Someday, which is on that first album also.
Wow.
You're going to see me doing a lot of that first album.
All right. I don't blame you.
And number 12 is a very long progressive song on the first album called Liberation,
All right.
which is a good listen. Number 11 I got is Feeling Stronger Every Day. Number 10 is State of the Union, which I believe is on the fifth album. I'm not sure, but I think it is.
All right.
Number 9, Hey, I'm Back to the First Album, I'm
All
a
right.
Man.
All right. Great cover, as I mentioned there.
Oh, and it's an absolutely fantastic cover. My number 8 is Where Do We Go From Here? My number 7 is 25 or 6 to 4.
Oh, yeah.
My number 6 is interesting because what it is I'm taking the whole Ballet for a Girl in Buchanan suite, and that's my number 6. Make Me Smile, essentially, with everything that follows and closes with Now More Than Ever. Color My World's in that.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great long suite. Number 5, you're on here somewhere.
Right.
Oh, there you are. It Better End Soon, parts 1 through 4.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
That's a great little song. And my number 4 is Does Anybody Really Know What Time It Is?
Yep, from the first album as well.
I said that one's going to be pretty prominent.
Mm-hmm.
My number 3 is Introduction off the first album.
All right.
My number 2 is Beginnings off the first album.
All right.
I pretty much put the whole first album there. To me, that was the best.
All right.
There's other good things, but that album was head and shoulders above the rest of it. And my number 1 is an interesting one. Dialogue 1 and 2. I something about that song I really like.
All right.
And staying in that same vein, next group I got is Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
All right. Now we go back. Excuse me there. I'm going to go back to the first album here. I'm just reading on the reissues here of that particular album. In 1974, it was mixed in a quadraphonic sound and released it as a SQ encoded album and a Dolby Quadraphonic 8-track that same year. And quadraphonic, is what I understand, is where you not just hear the songs in your left channel, right channel, but you also hear it in the front and back as well, all around sound, I guess.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
however, you have to have a quadraphonic record player to listen to hear all that for I to take it.
Yeah, and 4 speakers essentially.
Oh gosh. Well, the thing is, it would have been nice to have a quadraphonic sound where you just pop it in the regular, play it on the regular turntable or the CD player and experience it all around there. I think the last one that was like that was the Roger Waters album, Amused to Death. And that was in 1992.
Yeah.
And it was also, now 2002, that record was reissued by Rhino Records. And to fit the double album onto a single disc, Rhino Records, believe it or not, had to trim some of the songs, like the fade outs on the track Question 67 and 68. It was a lot more 6 seconds longer on the original album. And the track Freeform Guitar had about 5 seconds remaining on the original. And the 10-second gap between Someday and Liberation had to be trimmed down just as well. And and in 2010, Rhino handmade re-released the original quadraphonic mix of the album onto a limited edition DTS DVD. And in 2016, a DTS HD Master Audio as part of Chicago Quadro box set.
Wow.
And it was,
But yeah, if I was going to make a recommendation,
yeah.
uh, that album would be the one I would get if you could only get one Chicago album.
Yeah, I would so because there was a lot of experimental. There was this one piece which I guess was
Oh, they were
comprised.
definitely prog on that first
Oh
album.
yeah, absolutely there. And of course, later on, it would become favorites among the adult contemporary sound next to Carpenters and other bands of that part.
Every
And
once in a while, they would sneak another song in, but they basically, yeah, they went pop.
yeah, they did. Yeah, absolutely. And then of course, Terry Kath would, of course, he would die from that shotgun wound. And here's a little fact. They even tried to sound disco during the disco hype. They released this one
Yeah.
record called Hot Streets. And I forgot the name of the song, but there was this one song that was later sampled by, bits of that was sampled by Pitbull and a couple other dance tracks. I remember hearing at Lipstick's nightclub back in Michigan around the 90s there. Guess what it was? Hot Streets was the only album they released that didn't have a number. Remember, it was Chicago 4th, Chicago 5th, Chicago 17,
Yeah.
Chicago 21.
Yeah, I was trying to see if was it Alive Again?
Alive? Alive album?
Alive Again.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Oh,
that was the name of the song on the Hot Streets record where they
right.
tried to sound disco-ish. Remember, every
Yeah.
pop act out there was trying to jump on that bandwagon there, including Isaac Hayes, Barry White, and a few others there. Even
Yeah.
Arthur Fiedler, when the Boston Pops Orchestra.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, just one of them things, I suppose.
And by the way, if anybody, and I don't want anybody mentioning the Mecho version, disco version of the Star Wars theme, or else I'm going to pop them in the nose. I couldn't stand that for shit.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to take.
Oh, gosh. Give me a break, dude.
But Blood, Sweat, and Tears started out about
Mm-hmm.
68, 69, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. And When I
And
Die was one of their
think,
big songs there.
yeah, I think they only had like 4 albums, but I could be wrong.
I am.
Maybe they had more than that.
And that song, by the way, was written by another artist who recorded on the same label that they did, Columbia CBS. Her name was Laura Nero, I guess it was.
Yeah. Well, it was an old song. I forget how old and who did it first.
Oh.
My number 10 by them is "You Made Me So Very Happy,"
I remember hearing that a lot.
and I'm going to pick a lot from their first album, which didn't have David Clayton Thomas. Had a lot of songs I really liked because they were starting to do a little bit of. They were kind of doing some prog,
All right.
and Al Cooper is the one that started the group, and it was only on the first album.
I heard that name a lot of times. I know he was a guitar player, for I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was he
And
did.
like I said, a lot of these songs I'm going to mention are off that album. Because if I was going to recommend a Blood, Sweat, and Tears album, I would tell you Child is Father to the Man, which is the first one.
All right.
Okay, my number 9 is My Days Are Numbered, which is off that first album.
All right.
My number 8 is Home in the Country, which is off that first album.
All right.
My number 7 is Without Her, which is off that first album. Number 6 is I Can't Quit Her, which is off the first album. And number 5 is Go Down Gambling, which is off the fourth album.
Ah.
Number 4 is Spinning Wheel.
All right. Spinning Wheel. I heard that a few times.
Yeah. And number 3 is a song called Something Coming On, which is on I believe, the third album.
Yes.
Number 2 is off the first album, a song called Something Going On. And my number 1 by that group is off the first album. I Love You More Than You'll Ever Know.
Ah, nice.
Very bluesy.
Yeah.
Very bluesy.
If I understand, according to what I believe, I guess I guess now David Clayton Thomas, he released a couple solo records, and I guess he has his version of the same the under that band name, I guess.
That I'm not sure of. I know that when Al Cooper left, they picked up David Clayton Thomas as the vocalist,
Yeah.
and he's their vocalist on 2, 3, and 4. And there's some good stuff on there. It's very bluesy, but they kind of get away from the prog they were doing on the first album.
Mm.
But it's very good. Next one I got, well, I need you to look up a group for me. I don't think they started till the 70s, but I'm not sure.
All right, which group?
Mountain.
Mountain. Oh yeah, the late Leslie West.
And Felix Pappalardi.
Yep, exactly. The band, rock band Mountain. We know them from their song Mississippi Queen. That's one of their big songs. Another song they had was like an Imaginary Western. Theme from Imaginary Western. I remember hearing that on the second Woodstock album. There was a Woodstock 2 that came out shortly after the first one. And of course,
Yep.
as I mentioned, Leslie West no longer with us. He lost one of his legs, or one half of his leg, due to type 2 diabetes a couple years back. He was confined to a wheelchair, but he was still able to play.
Yeah. If they started in the 60s, we'll do them. If not, we'll wait until we get to the 70s.
Yep. Yeah.
But I don't think they started till the early 70s.
Yeah, well, according to the Wikipedia, they were formed in Long Island, New York in 1969. It was West, Corky Lang, who later, N.D. Smart, who was later replaced by Corky Lang on drums.
Corky Lang.
Steve Knight on the keyboards, and Felix Pappalardi, I guess his name is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll go ahead and do Mountain when we get to the 70s then, and start talking about metal.
Yep, it's absolutely there.
Now, the next group I got on my list, I know started in the 60s.
All right.
I believe 67 or 68. Well,
in fact, Mountain was also, also having a big influence in the development of heavy metal in the 70s as well.
Right. Definitely. Is the Moody Blues.
Oh, my goodness.
And we've talked about them before.
Absolutely.
But they actually started in 67. Well, depends on which permutation
I think
you're talking about.
I thought it was in 60. Well, the Moody Blues we all know started in, I guess, was in 64 or 65, I understand. And this was before, this is when they had Denny Lane as their frontman, I guess.
Right.
He was the one who sang on their first big hit, Go Now.
Go Now.
Yeah. And plus, I guess what I understand, each member of the group had their own lawyer, and they got negotiated some deal with their record label in the UK, so they ended up getting lots and lots of dough as a result of that successful song they had. And later on, I guess that's when they got the lineup that we know by heart. Justin Hayward, John Lodge, Mike Pinder, Graham Edge, and Ray Thomas.
Yeah, and that's kind of the phase of the Moody Blues I was going to talk about. We've done it before, but we only did albums.
Yes.
And I'm going to try to highlight individual songs.
Yeah, and then believe me, you got to check these songs out, dude. And believe me, the core 7, which is Days of Future Past up to 7 Soren, that's the core 7. Albums still remain one of their biggest.
Yep. And I could have done 20 or 30 by this group, but I tried to stick with 10.
Yeah, right.
And The Tide Rushes In.
Great song there from the Question of Balance, one of my favorite records there from them.
Yeah. Number 9, I got Eternity Road.
Another one there. To Our Children's Children's, which I understand was a concept album based on the landing of the moon that same year, '69.
Yeah.
And it was also
every album they did was a concept. Really? That's 7 anyway.
Yeah. And by the way, that album we mentioned was the first record that would be on their record label called Threshold Records.
Right. Number 8 I got is Isn't Life Strange?
Yep, another one
Off
from Seventh
Sojourn.
Sojourn, yes.
Number 7 is For My Lady, which is a Ray Thomas song.
Yep. And Ray Thomas didn't really, I don't know what instrument he played, the right songs there, but because mostly he was the one doing the tambourine, the percussion, the
Flute.
flute, a lot of stuff like there. He
Yeah.
was always doing the knickknacks here and there, and that's about it.
Yeah. Number 6 I got is So Deep Within You.
Threshold of a Dream, great album as well.
Number 5 is Question.
Great song, which kind of makes a lot of sense there when you think about it.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that song is it's actually a combination of 2 different songs.
It is.
That he'd written, and they just kind of meshed them and started with one, went to the other one, and came back to the first one.
Absolutely. It's just, dynamic. The whole album in general is dynamic, being, of course, Question of Balance.
Number 4 I got's going to be one that's going to surprise you probably.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever.
From the Search of the Lost Chord album there. And that's a religion, if I understand. That's based in Indian, if I understand, India.
Yeah, but
I guess they
I don't know. That song is just for me real interesting.
Yeah, and I think they practiced it a lot, for what I understand. If I was that kind of particular religion, I guess it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm.
Number 3 I got is, I actually went off the Moody Blues because I really like this song and I wanted to include it. Forever Autumn, Justin Hayward.
Oh, wow. You remember
that is a great song.
You remember the members of the Moody's often did solo records on the side there, And of course,
that song is just so, I don't know, there's just something about it.
All right.
My number 2, I got off the core.
Mm.
And I picked The Other Side of This, or The Other Side of Life.
Mm.
And then my number 1.
And that came out in 1980, I guess. 1985, for I remember.
Yeah. Is Melancholy Man.
Oh, yeah, From a Question of Balance.
Really like that song.
Yeah, I like the little thing. I like the sounds, the wind sounds they have during the guitar solo there. It's just like frightening to listen to when you listen to it there.
But boy, if I was going to pick a Moody song to listen to that you could really immerse yourself in, that would be Melancholy Man.
Oh, man. There's this one song that almost brought me to tears called Watching and Waiting. It was the last track from our Children's. And it was like a guy waiting for a friend to come hang. That kind of expressed that loneliness that individual is feeling at that moment, And the way the Mellotron is performed on that song, it kind of it helped. You couldn't help but shed a few tears because you can't help but remember how lonely you felt at times.
Yeah. Yeah. That.
And by the way, they made damn good use.
You can't go wrong listening to that Core 7, all of them.
Absolutely. And by the way, and the way they worked, the way Mike Pinder worked that Mellotron, phenomenal to this damn day.
Yeah.
They should because they should definitely do a reunion tour. I would love to see them do a reunion show. Patch things up with Pinder. Get Thomas out of retirement. And go on the road. Because right now it's Hayward, Lodge, and Graham Edge, their drummer. Because it's just and a lot of that spark is gone when some of the other key members leave. When you think about it, there.
Yeah. Okay, next one. We're going to cover now. We're going to cover when we get to the 70s, and we're going to cover when we get to the 80s.
Yep.
I'm going to talk about Pink Floyd and their first batch of albums with Barrett and Gilmore later, up through Metal.
Yep.
We're going to cut off at Metal and then go to Dark Side of the Moon
in
the second part.
That's right. Yeah.
My number 10 by them is Let There Be More Light, which is off of the Saucer Full of Secrets album.
Yeah, which Roger Waters, that's when he started doing his work as a songwriter.
Yeah. Number 9 is off of Metal, Pillow of Winds.
Good song there.
Number 8 is One of These Days, off
Classic
of
too.
Metal.
Classic. I remember hearing that when I first started listening to rock radio. It was that was one of the freakiest tunes I ever heard. With the organ they had. Nick
Yeah,
Mason, their drummer, saying those words. One of these days, I'm gonna bite you into little pieces. There.
I'm going to cut you into little pieces.
I thought it was bite. Oh,
No, cut.
all right. Have to look that up there.
Number 7 is a very early song, Arnold Lane.
Oh yeah, with the Barrett on it.
Yeah. Number 6 is Biding My Time, which is just got stuff going on in the other room.
What the heck?
She's crazy, okay? We'll just leave it at that.
You're right, it is. I'm going to cut you into little pieces there. You're right. I thought it was always bite or something like that. I don't know what the heck. It was like a not too subtle message to a DJ that they disliked, and it featured two bass guitars on there, on that particular
Yeah,
track.
can you still hear me okay?
Yes, I can, loud and clear, dude.
Okay. Okay, we're number 5, Astronomy Domine, or
Oh, yeah.
Domine, or whatever the name of it is.
Astronomy Domini, I guess it was pronounced.
Yeah. Number 4 is Interstellar Overdrive, which is off the Piper at the Gates of Dawn album.
Yeah, and that's an instrumental, to what I understand, right? Because
Yeah, about 9.5 minutes.
wow, because you look on YouTube, there's a performance of that song at a Swedish rock festival where Frank Zappa is jamming with him during that song there.
Wow. It does some interesting stereo tricks, too.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, I got See Emily Play, which I believe was her first single.
Yeah. A single on its own there.
And let's see where to. Oh, number 2 is the Nile song from
More.
The More.
The More
That song
soundtrack.
is a huge rocking song.
Oh, it was. It was loud. Very loud there.
And my number 1 is, to me, one of their best early progs of that era, Echoes.
Oh my gosh,
Metal album.
dude.
That thing is a real trip to listen to.
Oh man, that is, but it's still. I think I remember the middle section of that track where it is.
Oh, yeah.
That is, I believe that's done with either a pedal steel guitar, sliding on the fretboard with the bar there. And I guess Waters adds some of this little bit of bass on that just as well. And by the way, that that thing is supposed to be a bird calling out in the night. That's actually a keyboard done by Richard Wright. He's been an expert at doing that particular sound for years because he often did it a couple times on The Wall, on one track there.
Yeah, but that song to me just kind of, at that moment in my life, defined Pink Floyd.
And by the way, of course, you've ever heard the story about mixing that song with the last half hour of 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Actually, I haven't heard that. I've heard Dark Side of the Moon was the first part of that. But
I
never heard about the second part.
No, actually, they're talking Dark Side of the Moon with the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Which, by the way,
mixed.
Absolutely. Play Echoes with the last half hour of 2001: A Space Odyssey, and believe me, it works. It works. There's a YouTube video on there that did just that on YouTube, and believe me, like I said, it fucking works.
Yeah, I might have to try that sometime.
Absolutely, man.
Okay, another group that we're going to divide into at least 2 segments because the first segment did start in the 60s,
Mm-hmm.
and the second segment got big in the 70s. That would be Fleetwood Mac.
Oh man, interesting.
We'll
Yeah.
talk about the early part,
Yes,
and then we'll get
absolutely.
to the Buckingham Nicks part
Yeah.
when we get to the 70s.
Yep.
But their early stuff, they had some good things.
Oh man.
Number 10, I got a song called Station Man. Number 9 is a song I got called Danny's Chant, top the Bare Trees album.
All right. And that's the one with the original Sentimental Lady on that album, which Bob Welch, the guy
Right,
who wrote and sang on it, would later do for his solo record.
right. Number 8, I got a song called Sunny Side of Heaven, which is a great little instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7 is Bare Trees.
All right.
Number 6 is July Judy. Number 5 is the original Black Magic Woman, their version.
Yeah, which Santana made it to a big household hit on their second record.
Yeah. Number 4 is a song called Albatross, which is a great instrumental that if you ever get a chance to hear it, you need to listen to it.
All right.
It's about a 3 or 4 minute song, but it's a great instrumental.
All right.
Number 3, Hypnotized, which is a Bob Welch thing.
Yes, I remember hearing that. Great classic, dude. Classic song from them. And it's sad that Welch is no longer with us. Apparently, he took his own life from a shotgun wound because of massive health issues in 2012 there. Which
Wow.
is sad because he released a great solo record called French Kiss in 79. That's no 78.
There's some great songs on that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember having the cassette and later the album version as well. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
And that
Number
whole
2
album.
I got
No, go ahead. My bad.
Well, that's okay. Number 2 I got is Sentimental Lady.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Bare Trees version, not the Bob Welch version from
Right.
77 there.
Yeah. And number 1, Oh Well.
Parts 1 and 2.
Well, yeah, you got to have the whole thing.
Absolutely, man. The second half to me was phenomenal because it had the feel of a spaghetti western right in there.
Yeah. Very, very good song.
Brilliance at its best. Pure brilliance.
I forgot the name of the album, but I think it was Right On or something like that.
Right, all right there. Which, by the way, for all the people who only know the Buckingham Nicks version of that group, definitely check check those albums out that we recommend. Like whether it's Right On, Bare Trees,
Then Play On, I think.
Then Play On, all those albums, Mystery to Me, all those records. Definitely check those albums out. Don't just concentrate on the Rumors lineup, folks.
Right, right. We'll get to that, but right now we're talking about a good version anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next group I got's another one that's 2 segments basically. Genesis. You got the Peter Gabriel version and the Phil Collins version.
All right, yeah.
And we're going to do Peter Gabriel because we'll get to the Phil Collins version when we get into the 70s and 80s.
And again, all the people out there today who only know the Phil Collins version of Genesis, definitely look up the Peter Gabriel one because this was prog at its best, especially Gabriel because he would dress up in all these costumes and outfits and stuff, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was theatrical during that time, very theatrical.
Yep. Number 10 I got is Carpet Crawlers, which is off The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Ah. What's concept album, if I understand.
Yep. Number 9 was Musical Box. Number 8 is Battle of Epping Forest. Number 7 was Return of the Giant Hogweed. They also were kind of interesting in their titles.
Yeah, a lot of bands at that time were very at that period there.
Number 6 is Knife. Number 5, Supper's Ready, 23 minutes.
Yeah, that's one of the ultimate classics up there with when they recorded with Gabriel.
Yep. Number 4, Watcher of the Skies.
Classic tune from them there. Absolute.
Yeah. Number 3, Off the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, is a song called Fly in the Windshield.
Oh yeah. And by the
Which,
way,
boy,
great
that one.
cover. By the way, great cover for that album there. By the way, if you ever
Yeah.
if you ever see that album in a used record store, definitely check it out. It is a good album to listen to, as well as a pretty interesting album cover, which is done by the boys at Hypnosis. By the way.
Yeah. Number 2 is I Know What I Like in Your Wardrobe.
Yeah, we hear it in the background.
No, that was my phone.
Oh, okay. I thought the song sounded like Peter Gabriel at first there.
Nah, that's a Marmalade song.
Okay.
And number 1, Dancing with the Moonlit Night.
Mm.
That song is very proggy and very interesting.
You know, I know I mentioned this a couple of times, but if Phil Collins didn't have the nerve damage that he currently has, we would have loved to see him, Mike Rutherford, Tony Banks, Steve Hackett, and Peter Gabriel get back together to do a real Genesis reunion tour. So the people out there can see what this was the Genesis that existed before Gabriel's departure, Phil Collins taking over on as the vocals and becoming the top 40 success they had in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, and actually their first 3 or 4 albums with Collins, they tried to continue in that vein.
Yeah.
But they basically changed. But the first 2 or 3 albums with Collins were basically what they were doing with Gabriel.
Yeah.
And they just changed it a little bit later.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that when we get to the Collins years.
And it also fits to say that the divorce that Collins went through around 1980-81 also added to that change that Genesis would go through in the 80s as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Had a lot to do with it.
Absolutely, it did.
And the last one I got for today, I believe they started in the late 60s, but you'd know better than I would.
Mm-hmm.
Grand Funk Railroad.
Oh, man. Yeah, I believe they may have started. I remember 2 of the members, you know, I guess one of them, if I understand, Don Felder, the drummer there, was in a band called Terry Knight and the Pack. They released one record. They hail from Flint, Michigan. And I guess Terry Knight would later become Grand Funk's manager through the years. And then later they would sue him because he was depriving the group of a lot of royalty money.
Yeah. Bad manager.
Yep, absolutely there. And I guess Knight passed away. I forgot what year it was, you know. And there was not much of a statement from the members because, you know, they did part on bad terms there, if I understand there. But the lineup we know was Don Felder on the drums, Mel, I forgot his last name there, or how to pronounce it. And of course, Mark Farner on vocals and guitars. Now, the current Grand Funk that we have on right now is, of course, the old Grand Funk Railroad, but it's a 5-piece. But it features Bruce Kulick, the former Kiss guitarist, so it's one of their members there. And for what I understand, Felder apparently screwed over Mark Farner. For what I understand, I have to look it up on the internet there on what the fuck happened.
Yeah, because I don't know that story.
All right, I'm gonna look it up right now to find out what the fuck is this happened with the.
Okay, and I'll start my top 10 for them.
Go ahead, dude.
My number 10 is a song called "Can't Be Too Long," which is on the first album. Number 9 is their version of "Inside Looking Out," which is an old. The Animals did it, and then someone before the Animals did it. It's an old song. Number 8, "Sin's a Good Man's Brother." Number 7, "Foot Stompin' Music."
Yep.
Number 6, "In Need." Number 5, "Bad Time." Number 4, Country Road, which I've heard is another anti-war song.
Uh-huh.
Number 3, I'm Your Captain, Closer to Home.
Yep. Classic right there. Phenomenal piece right there. Massive epic.
Yep. Number 10. Number 2, Paranoid.
Not the Black Sabbath tune. This is their own
Oh
song
no,
at the same time.
it's theirs.
Yep.
Off of the album by the same name.
And by the way, there's also somewhere in Flint, Michigan. I tried to find it myself when I was still in that state. There was they got their name from the Grand Trunk Western Railroad, and there is a bridge
Yep.
located in Flint, Michigan, right there. It was repainted instead that shows the band's name. Instead of Trunk, it's Funk, and they put the name Don, Mel, and Mark next to it there,
Yeah.
as well as the first names. And nobody has touched that. Nobody has ever
Wow.
touched that thing there. Nobody has ever touched it. Still there to this day there when you think about it.
Yeah, and my number 1 by the group
Yep.
is their cover of Gimme Shelter, the Stones song.
Oh, wow.
I thought they did a great version of that song.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow.
That probably kind of surprised you.
Oh, interesting there.
And keep in mind, these lists that I make, that's what I feel when I do the list. But, you know, damn.
What the heck? Man, your phone's blowing up right now, man.
I know. Okay, well, that's all right. But at any rate, like I said, there were a lot of other songs that was hard not to pick because they did a lot of good songs.
Ah.
I mean, a lot of these groups are the same way. And like I said, you asked me to make this list a week from now, and it might be a little different.
Yeah, I know.
Just depends on how I feel at the time.
Absolutely, man. Huh.
But next time we get together, we're going to start moving into the early 70s. And I'm thinking we're going to divide into segments.
All right. So this form of genre of rock and this form of genre and this and that.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of that going on.
Yeah, this is when music started to fall into genres, the 70s.
Yep.
You know, I'm thinking we've got metal, prog, southern rock.
Yep.
I guess your run-of-the-mill kind of rock, whatever you want to call it. I hesitate to call it pop. I hesitate to call it pop. It's not really pop. It would be groups that were general. They weren't a specific genre, but they were just kind of general, and they didn't really fall into a genre. Chicago would be, I guess, one of those groups. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of what might be the best one to start with. Because any one of the 3 that I mentioned will take a while.
Yeah, that's true there.
I guess we could start with probably some of the early metal.
All right.
That would include Black Sabbath, Deep Purple,
Led Zeppelin,
etc. Yeah, that would be where Zeppelin would fall in.
Or early Aerosmith.
Yeah, although I don't know if they're really heavy metal.
Well, Aerosmith is not really heavy metal, but they were heavy at that time, you know.
Yeah, and they're kind of bunched into that, but
yeah,
you know, well, BTO,
Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Yeah, and actually, an example of what I was talking about when I was talking about pop, but not pop.
Yep.
Because to me, pop and what would be like Guess Who. That's not pop, but it's not any of the other genres.
All right.
But I'm thinking we'll start with metal, and kind of stick to the early 70s in that part of the deal
Wait a minute.
and go over that, and then maybe move to either prog or southern rock. Because southern rock's its own genre.
Oh, Jeebus the God is calling. Tell you what, Jeebus, I'll add you to the call if you like. Let me see if I can add the Jeebus dude in here.
Yeah.
But let me call him. Oh, no, what am I talking? I'll talk to him a little bit and I'll add you back in. Okay, let me hear. Hello? Jeebus? Jeebus, you there, dude?
What's up, Brian?
I'm doing all right. With me and
What's up,
I'm
Arknolia? What's up,
yeah.
my man?
I'm gonna add him back to the call here because I had to put him on hold to add you there. So he should be back right now. Sounds like you're outside, dude.
I believe I'm on stream right now.
Are you outside? I have trouble hearing you, dude.
What's up? You can't hear me?
I hear you well, but it sounds like there's a vacuum cleaner running in the back. There's a little bit there. I think you may have to change your. Can you hear me well?
Sounds shitty, eh?
Well, you
All
sound.
right, man. Well,
I can hear
I'll
you.
call back. I'll figure it out.
Oh yeah. Tell you what. Give me
I'll
the
call
word.
back.
All
I'll
right.
figure it
Good.
out.
Good. All right.
Very good.
All right. Yeah. That was Jeebus the God, a guy who I've up and spoke to a few times on Skype here. A couple times when he called in on whether this show or Real Fuck TV, we had to change, whether device he uses, whether it's a computer or a phone, because of the sound quality of the call there. I guess he's going to call back pretty soon. You there, Arky? Arky? Oh, he's not muted, dude. Arknolia, there, dude? Son of a bitch. What's going on here? I don't know if I know he's not on mute. Huh. Son of a name goat. I don't know what the fuck is going on here. Okay, I might as well pay attention to what's going on with the chat earlier. 6535 was asking me to make him a mod. Can I get a wrench? And DocsBox4 says that's a fake 6 account. And someone named Jeremiah Bullfrog 6 is Pit of Snakes. So I'm thinking possibly the 6th person in my chat here is probably SC Steve, because he asked me a couple of times in the past to make him a mod. And I know one time he came in impersonating Dave Rose. So you there, Arknolia? Some of them, bitch. I don't know what the hell is going on here. Well, I don't know what happened with Ark there, so I guess we'll probably end the show for now there. So probably I know Jeebus will probably call in later on, I guess, when we get off the air. Sorry, Agnoia, but I cannot hear you. I don't know if you're still there or not. So we'll have to definitely end the show there. I end the call. And then once again, we'll be back on the air this coming Thursday. And as I mentioned at the top of the program, I'm thinking possibly doing Arknolia and the Doctor. And then instead of stopping the stream, just continue to stream all the way through Real Fuck TV, which will be an hour later on. So hopefully we'll have the boys, the Minnesotas, Super Bowl Hunter and Vikings fan, and Arknolia on the same call, on the same program. You know, we're just going to morph one program into another, like we often a couple of times did with Metal Maniacs last year, We would do our subject program first and then skip into some YouTube drama here afterwards. Okay? We'll give it a. There's not what I could say for the time being there, so that'll be it. Okay, for Arknolia and myself, this has been episode 35 of our Music Memories series. I'm Dr. Earl, and for Arknolia, Strokebean, and myself, we will see you later this week, possibly Thursday. All right? You guys have a good one. Bye.